So, a couple of disclaimers before we get into the video. Number one, there will be plot spoilers ahead, but due to the age of the game, I doubt it'll be an issue. Number two, however, I'm in no way a professional game reviewer, a critic, or a journalist, so I'm not going to pretend to be. I'm not Joseph Anderson, I'm not H Bomber Guy, and I'm not Ray Civic. I'm just a hopeless romantic who loves these games enough to sit down for a couple dozen hours and make videos about them. These games are nowhere near perfect, and I'll be the first to admit that, but if you're looking for someone to go through and examine all the flaws and errors they made along the way while creating this masterpiece, then I'm sorry, but this video just isn't for you. I guess all I really want to accomplish here is just to put into words how much this series has meant to me and maybe how much it can mean to you too. As in all works of art, everything is subjective. What I may find touching and beautiful, you could find cheap and boring, so I won't be attempting to look at too much objectively. This is my opinion, that's all you're gonna get. I'm sorry. So here's something that I think you need to understand coming into this. When I found the Mass Effect franchise, I was in a particularly unhappy and unstable point in my life. I was a teenager who didn't understand where I fit in the world. I know it's not the happiest video intro and I'm not looking for sympathy, but I think context is important in understanding my experience with the game and why it may be right for you. Something about Mass Effect made me stand up and want to be better and feel like I could. When I sat down to play the game, I wasn't me anymore. I was Commander Shepard leading the Normandy. I was the hero of the Citadel, the first human Spectre, a champion of humanity. I found it empowering in a way few things outside the medium of video games can duplicate. I bought into the franchise of Mass Effect 2, but logically, you need to go back and play the original just as I did immediately upon completing Mass Effect 2. To be honest, playing the original Mass Effect is a hard recommendation to give anybody, because it sucks to play. Certainly not the worst gameplay experience you'll have, but in comparison to the smoothness of 2 and 3, it's just a rickety truck on a washboard road. However, there's something magical about going through all the terrible gameplay experiences to reach the brilliance found in Mass Effect's story. Frankly, I don't really much enjoy the gameplay in the Mass Effect series. It's not bad, but it's not why I keep playing over and over. I play for the moments and the relationships and the world that you take part in, because after 15 playthroughs, the funniest moments in this game still have me laughing out loud shamelessly. The happiest moments still put a smile on my face, and even as an adult, there are still moments that'll bring tears to my eyes. Now, maybe it's nostalgia, maybe the writing is terrible, maybe the set pieces are dry, maybe I just have childish opinions. But after discussing it with so many different people, I can't help but think it was just as magical for so many others, and it was truly a brilliant masterclass in story writing. One thing stands out above all else. For all the flaws in this game, there's no point where it felt like a Friday or a Monday project. It never felt like someone was mad to wake up and come in and work on this in the morning, or happy to leave at the end of the day. It felt like at every point in the game, whoever was working on it really and truly wanted to make the best thing possible. I doubt anyone that had any part in development of this game will ever find their way to this video, but on the off chance that you do, I want to say thank you. Thank you for sharing your passion with me, and thank you for making something so wonderful that someone who can barely edit together a montage felt like starting up what's going to be a months-long project just to talk about how great it is. Sentimentality out of the way, I guess it's time to start talking about the game, so in case it wasn't clear before, this is your spoiler warning, and let's get into the magic that is Mass Effect.
Requested. Establishing secure connection. Secure connection confirmed.
Well, what about Shepard? He's a spacer, lived aboard starships most of his life.
Military service runs in the family. Both his parents were in the Navy.
He proved himself during the Blitz. Held off enemy forces on the ground until reinforcements arrived.
He's the only reason Elysium is still standing.
We can't question his courage.
Humanity needs a hero, and Shepard's the best we've got.
I'll make the call.
No matter how many times I see this intro cinematic, it's still just downright cool. It never fails to put a smile on my face. We get a minimal amount of information, which is just enough to chew on as we ride along on our first trip through a mass relay. Shepard moves with a purpose throughout the Normandy, and I can't help but feel like I'm starting out on what's going to be a momentous journey. You can feel the weight of this situation as you contemplate Shepard's past and what that means for the scale of this mission. And yes, I know there's multiple backgrounds, but BioWare released information that something like 80% of players chose war heroes, so we can call that canon.
All stations secure for transit.
In case it needs to be said, the sound design and score upon this game is absolutely fantastic. You can close your eyes and still feel the weight of the situation you're in, and that's something that should be praised.
Hitting the relay in 3, 2, 1. Thrusters, check. Navigation, check. Internal emissions sync engaged. All systems online. Drift, just under 1500K.
1500 is good. Your captain will be pleased.
As we get our first few lines of dialogue, I must admit most of the characters come off a little generic, but it can be forgiven as it's only the beginning of their arc, and it's hard to bring depth with a handful of sentences. I'll keep it simple. Joker is our cocky young pilot who's damn good at what he does. Caden is our generic good guy. He's no sidekick, and honestly, I think he's one of the few squad mates who doesn't really get an arc. Depth of character through experience, but he never really changes.
Project, they have a right to send someone to keep an eye on their investment.
Yeah, that is the official story. But only an idiot believes the official story.
Navigator Presley is our generic old guy who doesn't trust aliens. Yes, space racism is here, and frankly, it's not very subtle. Space racism? Spacism? I'm going with spacism.
That was 30 years ago. You can't blame nihilists for that.
Dr. Chakwas is our kindly experienced doctor with a good heart, and then we get Jenkins, a young, talented soldier who's impatient to see some real battle. Is it a spoiler to say spoiler? Anyway, down we go. We confirm the crew's suspicion this mission is a lot more than the test flight as we learn from Nihilus and Anderson that we're going to retrieve a Prothean beacon. The Protheans being an extinct but advanced race that most modern tech is based off of, or so we're led to believe. This is also where we find out that Shepard is in line to become the first human Spectre, which is another reason he'll be leading the mission. As much as he's set up to be a shady character, I found myself enjoying the company of Nihilus. He's almost above everything else in his own way. He doesn't care what people think of him, and he doesn't care about the animosity between his race and humans. He's a soldier who just cares about getting the job done. I can't wait to see him evolve as a character. Oh, wait. So, yeah, Anderson is our generic old soldier, and then we get our first warning on how badly this mission's going to go.
We should be getting close to Eden.
Captain, we got a problem.
What's wrong, Joker?
Transmission from Eden Prime, sir. You better see this.
Bring it up on screen.
Get down!
We are under attack, taking heavy casualties. I repeat, heavy casualties. We can't get evac. They came out of nowhere. We need...
Everything cuts out after that. No comm traffic at all. Just goes dead. There's nothing.
Reverse and hold at 38.5. Status report.
17 minutes out, Captain. No other Alliance ships in the area.
Take us in, Joker, fast and quiet. This mission just got a lot more complicated.
I've seen enough hentai to know where this is going. No? No? Too soon? Well, regardless, the ending's the same. Someone's gonna get fucked.
Ripped right through his shields. Never had a chance.
We'll see that he receives a proper service once the mission is complete. But I need you to stay focused.
Aye, aye, sir.
I know it's kind of morbid, but I always found Jenkins' death scene to be pretty comical. It's just so sudden and pretty much irrelevant to the plot. I'm sure they intended it to come off as some kind of plot-enhancing moment showing you how sudden and brutal this is going to be, but it really comes across as predictable death is predictable. Hell, the characters barely seem to care, moving on almost immediately and hardly ever bring it up again. Thankfully, we immediately meet our third crewmate in Miss Ashley Williams, who, unlike Jenkins, uses her extensive military training to not stand in front of bullets. Good on her! Then we get kindly introduced to the character of Saren, seemingly a friend of Nihilus. I'm sure this is going to go well.
Saren. Nihilus. This isn't your mission, Saren. What are you doing here?
The Council thought you could use some help on this one.
I wasn't expecting to find the Geth here. The situation's bad.
Don't worry. I've got it under control.
Alright, note to self, avoid being involved in Mass Effect intro scenes. More on that to follow throughout the series. Nothing else of consequence really comes into play until we locate the beacon that we were sent here to recover and finally get a look at what the real story is we're about to embark on. First things first though, we have to head to the Citadel for the first time.
Good timing, Commander. I was just about to bring us into the Citadel. See that taxpayer money at work.
The size of that ship.
The Ascension, flagship of the Citadel fleet.
Well, size isn't everything.
Why so touchy, Joker?
I'm just saying you need firepower too.
Look at that monster. Its main gun could rip through the barriers in any ship in the Alliance fleet.
Good thing it's on our side then.
Citadel Control, this is SSV Normandy, requesting permission to land.
Stand by for clearance, Normandy. Clearance granted. You may begin your approach. Transferring you to an Alliance operator.
Roger, Alliance Tower. Normandy out.
Normandy, this is Alliance Tower. Please proceed to Dock 422.
The Citadel is an amazing experience, especially for new players, so I'm going to try to keep footage to a minimum. If I can recommend anything to new players, is take the time to explore the Citadel. Spend an hour or two wandering around, learning what space elevators are like. Spoiler alert, they're a lot like hidden loading screens. You're going to hear me say again and again how well the BioWare team makes completely foreign reality feel real and downright close to home. I'm not saying things like racial prejudice and the failings of bureaucracy is a good thing, but it's certainly part of our world and I like how well it's represented here. The scale of the problem may have shifted, but there's no reason to think advances in tech will solve the problems of today. We can't agree on things as a country, let alone with different parts of the world. Here in the US, you can drive 3 states away and feel like you're in a foreign land. Different accents, mannerisms, food, laws, etc. Different countries can feel as they were completely different species upon arrival. As a species, we've yet to set foot on another planet, and even those who have landed on the moon can be counted on your fingers and toes. Now imagine finding another world filled with people that have grown up a galaxy away from you. Now on top of that, trying to find common ground between you as you attempt to settle disputes. Now add in a dozen other civilizations. Galactic politics is a concept that's beyond my mental capacity, and that's why I love the Citadel Council. For a long time, I saw them as the bad guys, ignoring your pleas and warnings, only looking out for their own self-interest, but you have to add context to the problem to understand how well written. Imagine you're a parent. The parents, it's a weird family. They're into hot wife stuff. Bad boy Turian comes over. Smart boy Skinny Dick Slayer is just happy to watch, even if he does find this lifestyle a little problematic. I'm sorry, I went down a weird rabbit hole there. But yeah, the parents being the council. Now imagine your 5-year-old just said that your 13-year-old just slapped him and that his friend was coming over with a gun to shoot all of you. Now, of course, after seeing the red mark on your younger one, you know you need to yell at the teenager, but of course, you're not going to believe that someone's coming with a gun, right? This is your house. You've got a pistol on the nightstand, a shotgun above the door, and rifles in the closet. You're not worried in the slightest. This is where the council is. Why would they believe Shepard? A random human had a vision? I like the council, to be honest. They moved immediately on the issue that they were given evidence on. They ignored the improbable. They maybe shit the bed later, but this is now, and given the info they had, I think they did a great job.
Don't really know why. The Reapers are obviously just a myth, Commander. A convenient lie to cover Saren's true purpose. A legend he is using to bend the Geth to his will.
It was a Turian Spectre who betrayed this council, and it was a human who exposed him. I've earned this.
Commander Shepard, step forward. It is the decision of the Council that you be granted all the powers and privileges of the Special Tactics and Reconnaissance Branch of the Citadel.
Spectres are not trained, but chosen. Individuals forged in the fire of service and battle. Those whose actions elevate them above the rank and file.
Spectres are an ideal, a symbol, the embodiment of courage, determination, and self-reliance. They are the right hand of the Council, instruments of our will.
Spectres bear a great burden. They are protectors of galactic peace, both our first and last line of defense. The safety of the galaxy is theirs to uphold.
You are the first human Spectre, Commander. This is a great accomplishment for you and your entire species.
I'm honored, Counselor.
We're sending you into the Traverse after Saren. He's a fugitive from justice, so you are authorized to use any means necessary to apprehend or eliminate him.
Any idea where to find him?
We will forward any relevant files to Ambassador Udina.
This meeting of the Council is adjourned.
Congratulations. You're now the first human Spectre on your way to hunt down Saren Arturius and the most advanced ship in the Alliance fleet. The Citadel is dipping your toe in the pond, but now it's time to dive right in. From here on, you're Commander Shepard, and your decisions are going to carry weight. Your journey starts right now, so let's get into it.
Everyone on this ship's behind you, Commander. 100%. Intercom's open. If you got anything you want to say to the crew, now's the time.
This is Commander Shepard speaking. We have our orders. Find Saren before he finds the conduit. I won't lie to you, crew. This mission isn't going to be easy. For too long, our species has stood apart from the others. Now it's time for us to step up and do our part for the rest of the galaxy. Time to show them what humans are made of. Wherever Saren goes, we'll follow. Wherever he searches for the conduit, we'll be there. We will hunt him to the very ends of the galaxy and bring him down. Humanity needs to do this. Not just for our own sake, but for the sake of every other species in Citadel space. Saren must be stopped, and I promise you all, we will stop him.
Well said, Commander. Captain will be proud.
The captain gave up everything so I could have this chance. We can't fail.
Yes, sir.
Oh, the Mako. Such a lovely failure. You'll often hear Mass Effect players talk about how much fun it is to drive the Mako and how much they miss it. Is it good? No. Fun? Yes. Driving the Mako is a disaster you really need to experience for yourself, but to understand it, I'll sum it up the best I can. It's kind of like riding on a camel that's drunk. It's also blind in one eye, so it has no depth perception, and it has a Bluetooth connection to physics that keeps cutting in and out. It's honestly just hilarious and a prime example of how flaws can become a feature. Very few Mass Effect diehards would give up to make those flaws given the opportunity. It's just become part of the experience. Advice for new players operating the Mako for the first time is pretty simple. First of all, ignore the machine gun, get used to the cannon, because we have places to be and no one has time for a pea shooter. Second, don't be afraid to cheese fights by running down the Geth like children in a crosswalk. Trust me, the ragdoll's way more rewarding than taking it seriously. And third, just have fun. You'll stress taking it too seriously. For advanced battle tactics, observe.
Can you hear me out there? I'm trapped. I need help.
Are you okay? What happened to you?
Listen, this thing I'm in is a Prothean security device. I cannot move, so I need you to get me out of it, all right?
I might come back on this statement later on in the series, but I don't think there's a single character with more development over the course of these games than Miss Liara T'Soni. Going from the end of Mass Effect 3, where I was just a few days ago, to the first time you meet her is honestly kind of shocking. I'll try not to spoil her later developments here, but damn, she really grows up. As it stands though, Liara is a bit of an anomaly when it comes to this crew. Garrus was a soldier turned cop and a bit of a renegade. Rex is a 700-year-old bounty hunter and a warrior. Cade and Ash were both career Alliance, and Shepard follows this trend, but of course he happens to be a war hero. Tali is a bit of an outlier as well, but I mean, the first time you meet her, she's throwing a grenade at people. Liara, while absolutely brilliant, is a scientist at heart and downright childish. I sometimes wonder whether or not she was originally meant to be one of your squad mates or just part of the Normandy. I often wonder whether she was actively meant for a combat role or just a conversation.
Find it.
The conduit, but I don't know.
What the hell was that?
These ruins are not stable. That mining laser must have triggered a seismic event. We have to hurry. The whole place is caving in.
Joker, get the Normandy airborne and lock in on my signal. On the double, mister.
Aye, aye, Commander. Secure and away. ETA 8 minutes.
If I die in here, I'll kill him.
Regardless of my feelings towards Liara's combat effectiveness and whether we should put a scientist on the front lines, we get one of my favorite voice lines of the entire series thanks to this debacle she's caught up in.
That would be more fun.
We don't have time to deal with this idiot. Charge!
I like your attitude.
Too close, Commander. 10 more seconds we would have been swimming in molten sulfur. The Normandy isn't equipped to land in exploding volcanoes. They tend to fry our sensors and melt our hull. Just for future reference.
We almost died out there, and your pilot is making jokes?
Joker pulled our asses out of there. I think he's earned the right to a few bad jokes.
I see. It must be a human thing. I don't have a lot of experience dealing with your species, Commander.
There's something to love about these post-mission breakdowns. They've always come across as weird and awkward, but in reality, that makes a lot of sense. These people have just met, and it wouldn't make a lot of sense for them to just be friends all of a sudden. This is really well established, as we find out most haven't worked with many outside of their own species. In this very scene, Liara talks about how most of her life has been spent working, and she spent very little time with humans. We know Ashley has never served with aliens before. Tali has just started her pilgrimage, so there's no reason to believe she'd know aliens any better. Again, I find really well structured scaling to our own world. How many of us have really traveled widely? If you have, how long was it? Weeks, months, days? How long do you have to be somewhere to really feel comfortable around the people there? The only real downside I have with these briefings is that because there's no way to control which missions you do in which order, they all tend to feel a bit of the same. So, moving right along to Feros, I'm going to be honest with you. On first and maybe even second playthrough, this mission holds a ton of interesting developments as well as fun exploration. However, this is playthrough number 5 for me and it's just worn off a bit, so I'm going to keep it brief as to not spoil some of the better parts of this mission. Upon landing and embarking onto Feros, you were told that the leader of the colony, Fidan, needs your help to repel the Geth, who immediately yeet-cannoned the guy who passed this info along. Insert laugh track here.
To prepare for the Geth, they're making another push. Please, up the stairs past the freighter. Look out!
After meeting Fidan, you help repel the Geth who are seemingly close to destroying the colony as a whole. After driving them back, you head off to Exogeny headquarters to deal with its new Geth inhabitants. I knew the corporate world was tough, but this brings a whole new meaning to the concept of a hostile takeover. Inside the Exogeny headquarters, you'll find one of the hidden gems of the series. You can hack a Geth terminal, which will lead you to information about their fleet movements and the fact that they're building up for an attack on the Citadel. This is one of the small things you can find that really justifies your actions throughout the series, and it's just really nice little added content. The mission overall is rather fun if you're into exploration, and the setting is nice in its own particular way. I never realized it until now, but you spend a lot of time in the corporate and political side of the galaxy over the course of your investigation. I guess this makes sense considering the high standing of Saren and the resources available to him as a Spectre. I also think the game does a good job of immersing you into this landscape as you get rather adept at cutting through red tape. You also spend quite a bit of time dealing with corruption across the places you visit. We'll touch upon that a bit more when we hit Noveria, but Exogeny is certainly no saint among the sinners. You'll find out rather early in the mission the only reason that they're actually funding this colony is a kind of sick experiment related to the Thorian. Oh, what's the Thorian, you ask? Well, actually, it's just a very old type of plant.
What?
Upon learning about the Thorian and the thralls it creates, you are presented with the solution of using gas grenades against them as to not kill the colonists. Weirdly enough, I actually really enjoy the combat in this section. It provides a break from the usual gameplay that's summed up as spray everything until it dies. Having a mixture of Thorian creatures that will rush you and can be shot, along with the colonists firing on you that either have to be nated or meleeed, actually requires a bit of thought in the tenseness of the moment. It's easy to slip up and just shoot the colonists who, like Han Solo, did shoot first. We also get a nice little moment of human bravery as Fidan, who admittedly I don't care much about, takes a stand against being made to act against his will. Truth be told, however, it loses a bit of the emotional moment when you realize he just watched you take down everyone else alive and could have just chilled out for a minute. If there's ever an HD remaster, I'd like to see him at the front gate making a last-ditch plea to spare his crew before finishing himself off. After the colonists are dealt with, we move down below the colony to come face to face with the Thorian, so to speak. After a brief conversation, we decide to do what anyone would do. Kill the thing. After killing something that's older than our species, we move on to a wonderfully normal conversation with the person that just threw up upon dying. Oh. Well, this is where we learn what Saren was after, an ancient knowledge allowing understanding of the Protheans, also known as the Cipher. Thankfully, the Asari still contains it, and we can just get it from her. Thank you, plot. After getting the Cipher, you can choose to solve the problems the colony is facing just to stay alive, being simply food, water, power, and security. No biggie. It's actually pretty fun to explore the tunnels, and I highly recommend it on any playthrough. All that being done, you head off to your next adventure, and the mission that made this game truly breathtaking. Virmire. If there's one thing I could point to and say this right here is what made Mass Effect really special, it would be the mission on Virmire. The ending of Virmire is the moment most players will say, I have to finish this. I want to see it through. If you haven't played the series, I urge you to stop watching right now and just go play it. There will be heavy spoilers ahead that could really affect the way you play the game. That being said, Virmire starts out unconventional from your regular missions as you receive a call from the Council advising you to investigate a distress call from a recon team sent out to track Saren. They make up their usual line of, we can't tell you how to operate, but it's rather clear it's a serious situation, so you head off to investigate. You're hot dropped onto a planet so very different from the landscapes you're used to. Eden Prime is named to be pretty, but I found it bland with dull greens and browns. Feros is a crumbling cityscape made of browns and grays. Noveria is spent mostly inside a clean office environment. Ilos contains a lot of muted greens and browns, and all of them just kind of felt very dark to me. It was probably a limitation of the technology of the time, but however, Virmire steps out in extremely vibrant with its brilliant blues and whites and a huge sunny sky. If you've ever played Siege, it's the coastline of Mass Effect. Truth be told, I'm not much of a beach person myself. I much prefer mountain roads, but Virmire takes me back to the Pacific Coast Highway every time. It should feel sterile and evil with all the Geth and evil scientists, but it just feels so life-filled every time I walk around. I love the effect of the Mako as you drive through the water. I love the waves crashing against the rocks and the storm looming in the distance, dropping lightning from the sky. It's a relatively short run-in through a couple gates before you find the Solarian camp and uncover the depth of the situation. As it turns out, this is a massive laboratory Saren is using to breed an army of Krogan by curing the genophage. For those of you who don't know, I'll break it down as simply as I can. After being used as soldiers by the Solarians to save them from the Rachni, they were treated poorly by the Council races and rebelled. The Krogan rebellions were so violent that the Solarians developed and the Turians deployed a genetic disease that essentially left all but 1 in 1,000 Krogan children stillborn. Let's be clear, I'm fully on the side that deems this to be a war crime bordering on genocide. You'll find out more and more about it throughout the 3 games, but the short of it is, over 1,000 years, Krogan have had to stack piles of their children higher than themselves. So when Rex, a very old Krogan who cares deeply about his people, hears that the man we've been trying to kill can save his people, his loyalty is severely tested. It's an impactful moment that will have consequences far down the line. It may not seem like it without context, but this is probably the single most important conversation you can have in the game.
Destroy it. Help me out here, Shepard. The lines between friend and foe are getting a little blurry from where I stand.
This isn't a cure, it's a weapon! And if Saren is allowed to use it, you won't be around to reap the benefits. None of us will.
That's a chance we should be willing to take. This is the fate of my entire people we're talking about. If you can't give me a better reason than this to destroy the hopes of my people, then I'm done with you.
Regardless of the outcome of the conversation with Rex, the mission is the same. You have to destroy the facility, and it's not going to be easy. Captain Kirrahe lays out the plan to detonate a nuke made from their drive core. Unfortunately, it requires getting to the center of the facility to do so. The Solarians will attack from the front of the facility while you lead a small shadow team through the back. The captain understands the desperation of this situation, and with a heavy heart requests one of your squad to accompany him along the way. After choosing who will help the recon team, Kirrahe gives a speech that I've always had a soft spot for, so I'm just going to let it play. Give it a listen.
You all know the mission and what is at stake. I have come to trust each of you with my life, but I have also heard murmurs of discontent. I share your concerns. We are trained for espionage. We would be legends, but the records are sealed. Glorying in battle is not our way. Think of our heroes. The Silent Steppe, who defeated a nation with a single shot. Or the Ever Alert, who kept armies at bay with hidden facts. These giants do not seem to give us solace here, but they are not all that we are. Before the network, there was the fleet. Before diplomacy, there were soldiers. Our influence stopped the Rachni, but before that, we held the line. Our influence stopped the Krogan, but before that, we held the line. Our influence will stop Saren. In the battle today, we will hold the line. Good luck, Commander. I hope we will meet again.
Talking to your squad mate before they leave can come across as a normal action hero banter. Be safe, we've got this, but there's an undeniable tension laced into it, and I think Ashley's voice actor absolutely kills it here.
Good luck.
Is there something you want to say, Chief?
I don't know, it's just weird, going under someone else's command. I've got used to working with you. All of you.
Don't worry, we'll see you on the other side.
I know, It's been an honor serving with you, Commander.
It doesn't matter if we're not in the same unit. We're still a team. Watch each other's backs, keep your eyes open, and fight like I know you can. We'll all come out of this in one piece.
You bet, Commander.
You launch the mission, you can hear Kirrahe and your squad mate organizing the assault and relaying their status. Something I didn't pay attention to in my first playthrough is that you can help them along the way. As they come over the radio about problems they're having, it will translate to actions you can take on your end. If you complete all the somewhat hidden side objectives, then Kirrahe will survive this mission, but beyond that it doesn't make much of a difference. However, it is a nice touch. Upon entering the facility, it's the usual run-through of enemies. That is until you find yourself in the labs. When you first make entry, you'll find the Geth you expect mixed in with Solarian soldiers. One of your crew will make a comment about how this is probably the recon team members who were lost. This is one of the first good looks we get at how indoctrination can turn people. As you fight further in, you'll find Saren's scientists are experimenting on the husks you've been fighting. Something just isn't right, and it only gets worse as the pieces come together. Fight your way down, you can find Solarian soldiers locked up, and if you talk to one, there's something clearly wrong with him. He's complaining about the voices in his head, but assures you he just wants to get out and fight. If you let him and his friends out, they will immediately become hostile, and you'll be forced to kill them. You're on the scary side of science right now, and it's only about to get worse. Go far enough, and you'll find yourself talking to Saren's assistant, Ranathanopoulos. This is where you get your first real explanation on indoctrination, that it's an untraceable signal that influences organic minds. And it's not from Saren, but from the ship itself, Sovereign. If that wasn't crazy enough, get ready, for this big reveal is coming right here, right now. You find yourself having a conversation with Sovereign. This still fills me with wonder to this day. He speaks with authority and wisdom, and there's something ancient about him. He resonates with power and ageless wisdom. The Reapers are real, and they're not just coming, they're here.
Interface?
Rudimentary creatures of blood and flesh. You touch my mind, fumbling in ignorance, incapable of understanding.
I don't think this is a VI.
There is a realm of existence so far beyond your own, you cannot even imagine it. I am beyond your comprehension. I am sovereign.
After speaking to your imminent destruction, it's time to do what you came here for as you move to arm the bomb. While Alenko sets up the warhead, you get a call that Ashley's team is being overrun, and so naturally you take off to help her. But then that uneasy feeling sets in again, just in time for you to see the Geth ship land at Alenko's position.
Geth are sending in reinforcements.
Heads up, LT. We just spotted the troop ship headed to your location.
It's already here. There's Geth pouring out all over the bomb site.
Hold on, Lieutenant. I'm coming back to get you.
Negative. There's just too many of them. I don't think we can hold them off. I'm activating the bomb.
Alenko, what are you doing?
I'm just making sure this bomb goes off, no matter what. It's done, Commander. Go get Williams and get the hell out of here.
Screw that. We can handle ourselves. Go back and get Alenko.
There's no way to save them both, and there's no right answer. Someone is going to die based off the decision you make right now. Now, I'll let you in on the decision I made, and why. Yeah, I killed Ashley, and I don't feel bad about it. She's a spacist, and at no part of the series stops being a cunt. Caden is a nice guy who just wants to do the right thing, and I'll save him every time. On top of that, while he doesn't change much over the 3 games, after learning about his backstory, he shows great depth. Am I reaching? Maybe. Do I regret it? Nope. I'll kill Ashley every time with no regrets. Yeah, I said no regrets. I quoted We're the Millers from 2013. Deal with it. Regardless of your decision, this is a big moment for this series, and one it really benefits from, even if you hate it. But there's no time to mourn the loss just yet, as regardless of the choice you make, you'll get your first proper introduction between Shepard and Saren. And in this moment, I had nothing but remorse for him. After learning about the process of indoctrination and him openly admitting that it scares him and he's doing his best to protect himself, it's apparent he's already lost himself to Sovereign. He's a man desperate to survive, but he's not just out for himself. He's seen the power of the Reapers and has given up hope, choosing to help them in exchange for salvation. But it's never me. It's always we. It's always us. He wants to save as many people as possible from the Reapers and has decided this is the best way to do that. His now iconic line,
"Is submission not preferable to extinction?"
It's easy for us to say, no, it's not. We're the hero after all. This is our story. We're supposed to win. But what if it was your head on the chopping block? What about your people? Would you bow before someone to save your family? I don't think that's very easy to answer. He speaks to the irrationality of organic decision making, and it's really cool to see that he could come to this conclusion on his own, have been indoctrinated, or both. Thinking about it, I can't think of a single main antagonist over the course of this series that I could just label as evil. Everyone that you come up against has some level of depth and moral greatness so rarely found in games. Saren sets the standard well, and he'll only improve as the series goes on. All in all, Virmire is a shining example of what sets this game apart. From Rex, to Kirhi, to Sovereign, to Saren, to Ashley. There's depth here, and it will motivate you to go even deeper into BioWare's universe. Let's head off to the last checkmark on the list, Noveria. It's a dip in quality from Virmire, but I certainly enjoyed it more than Feros or Therum.
Approach control, this is the SSV Normandy, requesting a vector and a berth.
Normandy, your arrival was not scheduled. Our defense grid is armed and tracking you. State your business.
Citadel business. We got a Council Spectre aboard.
Landing access granted, Normandy. Be advised, we will be confirming identification on arrival. If confirmation cannot be established, your vessel will be impounded.
What a fun bunch. I think I'll take my next leave here.
Noveria is interesting, and while most missions could be separated into different parts, this one almost has two separate plots. To begin, you'll be greeted at gunpoint, which really sets the tone. Security is tight around here, and no one likes having you around. You do get a bit of a lifeline from Gianna Parsini, and that's all you need to get to work. After talking with Administrator Ananias and finding out that Benezia is in her research facility known as Peak 15, you need to find out how to get there. You're informed a blizzard has rolled in and it's not allowing the transport system to get you there. There is, however, a garage and a road, and you have a Mako. Wouldn't be a story mission if it was that easy, however. Ananias won't let you into the garage, so you have to find another means of getting it done. Miss Parsini directs you to a Turian named Lorik Queen in the bar, so you go and see him. Turns out he's got evidence on Ananias' corruption. Because he's locked out of his office while they search for it, he offers you a simple deal. Get the data and he'll give you his garage pass. Awesome little piece of storytelling here. Have you ever tried to use an expression from a language you didn't quite understand? Well, that translates across different races as well. Check it out.
You have a plan?
I do. However, there is one other... What is that charming human expression? Fly in the lotion?
Off you go, and what do you find? Well, you find guards searching the office, of course. You come face to face with some guards that don't seem too happy about being lackeys, and it doesn't take much convincing to get them to turn away and leave. But you can shoot them if you prefer. I wouldn't really feel bad about it. Regardless of whether you let the door guards walk out of there or not, there's more upstairs that are going to turn hostile on sight. After clearing out the guards, it's a simple walk over to Queen's office to retrieve the data. When you come back out, you're confronted with Miss Sterling, who's a real bitch. Don't feel bad about this one. There's no tragic backstory here. She's a dirty cop who's just kind of a cunt. Kill her and move along.
You're breaking the law for bribe money. You know what we do to dirty cops on my world?
I have a mission to complete. I did what I had to.
I don't care.
Before you get back to Keen, you can have a conversation with Miss Parsini when she reveals she's an undercover agent working to take down Ananias. She'll ask you to get Keen to testify so she can make her arrest. The decision is yours, but regardless, at the end, you'll wind up with the garage pass. Surprise, surprise, there's Get to be killed in the garage, and you take off down the snowy path in the Mako. Pulling up to Peak 15 is where the real mission starts as you battle your way inside trying to track down Lady Benezia. It's your usual fight against Geth in generic hallways and warehouse spaces until you hit this cutscene right here.
What was that?
Probably debris. Don't have a panic attack. I'll protect you.
This is the thing that separates this mission and makes it unique. This particular experience is short-lived as you quickly make your way further down to the facility and find the AI core. After repairing the core with a fun mind game that never fails to make my brain shit the bed as I overcomplicate it, you get a rundown of what's broken and start fixing it. Fun little objectives to fix the fuel lines and the phone lines, one with Geth, one with Rachni. They're not overly complicated, but I don't mind them, simply because it flows well. I honestly really like the fuel line section. It's short and nothing new, but the fact that there's essentially no cover makes it a mad scramble as destroyers charge you. It's easy to get caught unawares simply because of the speed at which they can cover distance. Everything all fixed up, you head to the tramway and get to the survivors of the Rachni attack. Sometimes simple characters work really well, and Captain Ventralis is a great example. He's a straightforward soldier, happy for the help and not looking to ask too many questions. When you show up, you're met with guns ready up until he can see the fact that you're human and immediately moves on with the situation. He's been awake for days, killing creatures long thought to be extinct. He doesn't care about the corporate secrets. He's just happy to see another person at this point. Don't let that get your spirits down, though, as there's drama to be had inside. Mainly the medic, Dr. Cohen, needs your help to get into the lab and make a cure for the bioweapon he's been developing. It gets interesting when the Asari outside meditating kills the door guard and confronts you with some Geth. She's been ordered to kill you by Benezia, and, well, she does her best. Yeah. After creating the cure and bringing it back to the doctor, he can give you a pass into the maintenance area. First things first, however, you should head back out to deal with the Rachni in the hot labs. It's kind of a weird scene with some very forced exposition from a guy sitting in the room who survives just long enough to give you the activation code for the neutron purge to destroy the Rachni. Seriously, this guy has the shelf life of toilet paper during the coronavirus. Setting off the neutron purge is really highlighted by this single oh shit moment. Seeing the radar blips grow and grow until it's enveloped by enemies while the timer ticks down and the Rachni rush you is unexpected and brilliant. If you charge in the middle, you can feel like you're being swallowed up as there are only enemies around you. Fight your way out to the elevator, take a breath, and then realize you're not actually done yet. Head back down into the maintenance area where you can get a back door to Benezia. I highly recommend having Layar for this scene for a couple of reasons. First, the confrontation between mother and daughter is another great display of the power of indoctrination. It really shows that you can't fight it off that easily. Second, her biotics are really strong in this fight, which is nice to have. And third, while the acting could be a bit more convincing, it's the most logical reason for Benezia's sudden break from Sovereign long enough to give them the information they need. It seems to be the default experience and just makes the most sense for me. Oh, and if you're wondering why I didn't replay this section to get a recording that the camera isn't completely bugged on, it's because fuck you. That's why. Go play it yourself. The real gem in this mission, however, was never Benezia. It's the Rachni Queen. Talking to what should be again a big bad, I couldn't help but feel sympathy for her. Explaining that her race communicates in song and that she suffered through her children being stolen and their notes soured, I found it heartbreaking. Music is one of the few universal languages. It doesn't have to be in your native tongue to know you should be dancing or feel sorrow in a painful moment. I think most of us can relate to living in the music we choose to listen to, and that's what I found so sad about her captivity. Her explanation of the Rachni Wars and the fact that she couldn't control herself, as she describes. Songs, the color of oily shadows.
No, I do not know what happened in the war. We only heard discordance, songs the color of oily shadows. We would seek a hidden place to teach our children harmony. If they understand, perhaps we would return.
Shadows. As I'm left to consider if this is how they interpret Reaper indoctrination. I've never been able to kill the Queen, and I don't think that will ever change. My expression during this scene tends to mimic Shepard. Sparing a species from extinction puts a smile on my face, even if I'm a little uneasy about it. Your mission complete, we head back to the Normandy, just in time to get fucked over one last time. As we venture ever closer to the conclusion of Mass Effect, it's time to wrap up all your loose threads, as you won't be able to do it after heading to Ilos. I highly encourage you to get out there and explore the universe yourself, as there's far too much for me to cover here, and it would certainly spoil the surprise of finding some of it on your own. That being said, I'll be bringing up some of my favorite out-of-the-way moments, and I'll also briefly cover the DLC. So, side objectives first, I think. First, we have a mission almost everyone who plays the game will start, but very few will finish. We find Torbon scanning the Keepers, and after explaining the scientific benefits of it, we agree to carry on the work for him. I won't lie to you, finding all these little fuckers can be downright exhausting. But the story is rather interesting, especially when the partner gets involved. It may seem a little boring, but it'll take you to all corners of the Citadel, which will come up fun in its own right. Trust me. Next up, we have your biggest fan in Conrad Werner. Full disclosure, I replayed all of Mass Effect 1 and 2 after finding out about the role he can play in the final installment. I won't lie to you, he's pretty damn creepy, but thinks about you in the shower creepy, not hacks your webcam creepy. Wait, is that more creepy? I'm not really sure. Oh, gross. Whatever. Look, it's a really good little side story that develops down the road, and it's worth your time. Trust me on this one. And besides that, his shrine of you is very tasteful. On the exploration side, you have that time I was exploring a planet and a fucking Thresher Maw activated my fight or flight response. These little moments are awesome and something lost in later games as the Mako is no longer present. Cerberus has nothing on the evil robot you can come into contact with. Yeah, I said evil robot. BioWare has a knack for leaving comedy gold hidden away in their games for the player to find. Honestly, this one is so good that I'm just going to let it play here for about a minute. If you want to find this one, it can be found starting in the rigged machine inside of Flux.
This is it. I'll see if I can find out where those stolen credits are going.
Probability of detection 100%. Initiating self-destruct protocol.
Or not.
Detonation sequence initializing. All organics within lethal blast radius. Attempt to move and you will die.
Crap. I thought we were tracing credits, not hunting an AI.
You could simply walk away. However, given organic prejudice against AIs, I would be naive to trust you to leave peacefully. Hence my alignment of core systems to enable a self-destruct sequence.
Somehow, the developers of this game managed to keep the game current even in its old age. Somewhere in the Presidium, we can find two people arguing. It turns out the argument is whether to get a common and extremely safe treatment for her unborn child, or not to, because there's a couple posts online that say it might harm the baby. I don't know how they managed to do it, but they slipped an anti-vaxxer argument into Mass Effect. I try to be neutral on how people raise their families, but for fuck's sake, if you risk your kid's health because of an article you read online, you shouldn't be allowed to breed. While we're talking about a more close-to-home argument, there's a little touch that Mass Effect adds in just always gets to me. When you lose a squad mate, they're not just lost from memory never to appear again. Rip Jenkins. Ashley or Caden will sit there blacked out to remind you of your failure every time you launch a mission. This catches me at the most unexpected times, and I love it. This is the effect you've left on the universe. Ashley will never see her sisters again, and that's on you. And the game isn't quick to forget it. On a final note, though, we'll bring your spirits back up with a real gem for veteran players. After tons of playthroughs, I only learned that this was possible a few years ago. If you have the space or background, Shepard's mom is alive and you can talk to her in a few short instances across the games. It doesn't really seem like much, but after a dozen Earthborn playthroughs where Shepard had nobody, it's a really nice moment and I can't help but be sentimental.
I have to go. But take care of yourself. You're making us proud. Kilimanjaro out.
The DLC in Mass Effect is by far the weakest across the series, but that's not to say there isn't some great moments here. There will be 2 DLC levels available, and the first one we're going to talk about is Pinnacle Station. Do you enjoy stories that keep you on the edge of your seat, constantly guessing what's coming next? Do you enjoy a new twist to combat that will test you in creative and challenging ways? Do you want to play the single greatest DLC ever added to a video game? Then you better wait for Citadel and Mass Effect 3 because this is absolute dog shit. Alright, with that covered, we move on to the actual DLC, Bring Down the Sky. This is actually a pretty fun way to spend an hour or two of your life. The basic rundown is pretty simple. Terrorists have taken over a massive asteroid and are flying it right at a human colony on the planet Terra Nova. There's a few cool little aspects I'd like to highlight in detail, and then I'll let you play it for yourself. First of all, the biggest thing that stuck with me is the sound design on the thrusters. You can feel their immense weight and power right through your headset, and I love just sitting and listening to them for a moment. And while we're on the subject of hanging around outside, there's a few places where the Mako really shines. Each engine you shut down feels unique and makes you adapt your usual strategy of long-range cannon fire. I was pleasantly surprised to find out I'd have to stay mobile to actually survive. I also like the trek through the minefield, as it actually made me play carefully. Every time I thought I had it sorted out, the meter would shoot way up and freeze me in my tracks. Then, coming out of the danger zone and rushing to dispatch the enemies at close range felt fantastic. And for some unknown reason, it really made me appreciate the Mako as I made the short run back to it and found myself happy to see it as I pop up over the hill. One thing we rarely get is Shepard's feelings about the world in his past showing up. Usually we're left to determine how we want to judge everybody, but when Shepard sees the Batarians, he's instantly disgusted.
Batarians.
Shown compassion for Saren, Benezia, hell, even the Rachni Queen, but Batarians? Shepard looks like he's out for blood in this rare scene of unchosen emotion from the character. My last little note I'd like to cover is our main antagonist, Balak. In true Mass Effect style, he comes across as one-dimensional, but let it be known there's a little bit more to him than that. We only get a glimpse of it here, and if you kill him, that'll be it, but Shepard makes good on his promise to find him if you let him walk away. Now, don't get me wrong, his actions are evil and twisted, and his reasons aren't great. He's definitely on the darker end of the spectrum, but there's gray in that he feels his people were humiliated by the humans and are only terrorists because of them. Now, I'm not saying the slavers didn't have it coming, but no matter how fucked up their actions are, we're all willing to do wrong if our loved ones get kicked down, right? I still wouldn't have any reservations about killing him given the chance, but I'm never let down by Mass Effect's villains. Overall, Bring Down the Sky is a great addition to the overall product that is Mass Effect, and if you're playing through the game, you should definitely take the time to see what it has to offer.
You invaded our space, took our resources, and when we asked the Council for aid, they brushed us off. We were left to defend ourselves, but the humans were stronger than us. We knew that. The Council knew that. But it didn't matter.
Well, this is it, folks. It's been a hell of a ride, but alas, all good things must come to an end. This is going to be our last trip to the Citadel, and once we launch Ilos, it'll be our last ride together. After finishing our last mission, we'll be called back to the Citadel to discuss how to deal with Saren. You rush back and you meet with the Council. No surprises here as they effectively throw out your warnings as they decide Saren is no threat. Only this time you've been through too much and it just pisses you off. You rescued Liara from the Geth. You've destroyed the Thorian. You discovered the re-emergence of the Rachni and dealt with it. Took down the Asari Matriarch in Benezia. Destroyed a Krogan breeding facility after losing a squad member in the process. Tag onto that Udina throwing you under the bus and it just feels downright shitty. They lock you out of your ship, essentially setting Saren to run free. We get this scene with Shepard beaten down and feeling downright useless. That's not to say he's given up, however, as he knows what's coming and that one way or another he'll find a way to stop Saren. Your love interest is here to support you in this moment, and as much as it sucks, in this moment you're given the beacon of light you need.
Sorry to interrupt, Commander. Got a message from Captain Anderson.
Are you spying on us, Joker?
No, sir. Just knew you were on the ship and figured I'd pass the message on. The captain said to meet him at Flux, that club down in the wards.
You should probably go meet with him.
Just a side note here, I think Joker's voice actor really sells this moment. It really feels like someone who's just been through it and they're trying to keep it together. I can feel the anger and hurt running through him as it sounds like he just wants to burst. You go out to see Anderson at the bar, which is where you get the break you needed. Anderson believes in you and he has a plan to get you back in the fight. He's going to break into the docking controls for your ship and end the lockout. When you bring up the fact that this is a secure area and you could easily get shot on the way in, he'll suggest an alternative method, where he could go through Udina's office as well. This is a pretty easy choice, as of course you're going to put money on Anderson versus Udina rather than gunfire. Here we go, boys. It's action hero time.
Anderson, what are you doing here? I didn't send...
You got knocked the fuck out, man!
Get us out of here, Joker. Now!
Here we are on our way to the edge of the universe to stop the greatest threat the galaxy has ever seen. First things first, though, it's time to say goodbye to everyone as we get our last words from our crew members. There's different levels of worry from person to person, but one thing is clear. The Normandy is behind you all the way. You've built up a family around you, and they'll follow you into the gates of hell no matter how bad it gets. I think the crew member that surprised me most was Rex. He doesn't take the situation lightly, but his confidence reassures you in this moment.
Stealing an Alliance ship? Risky stuff. But I'm right behind you, Shepard. It's the least I can do.
Everyone else thinks I'm crazy.
Sometimes crazy is the best way to go. I just hope they don't catch us before we get our hands on Saren.
You and me both.
He'll get us through, Shepard.
As you officially launch the mission, you'll have a little downtime in which your love interest will approach you. This is a nice moment that I know a lot of people will criticize, but I think they're in good context. I find myself nervous to the point of shaking before I do something really important. I'm fine in the moment, but to have someone with me beforehand would be something I'd very much need, especially with the stakes Shepard's facing. But don't worry, it is a video game, so let's not pretend this is going to be just some tender moment of love and support. Shepard gets laid, too. Getting ready to touch down, we get another great example of just how good Joker is, and honestly, I eat it up every time.
Take us down, Joker. Lock in on the coordinates.
Negative on that, Commander. The nearest landing zone's 2 clicks away.
We'll never make it in time on foot. Get us something closer.
There is nowhere closer. I've looked.
Drop us in the Mako.
You need at least 100 meters of open terrain to pull off a drop like that. The most I can find near Saren is 20.
20 meters? We'll never get in close enough for a drop.
We have to try.
Find another landing zone.
There is no other landing zone.
The descent angle's too steep.
It's our only option.
It's not an option. It's a suicide run. We don't...
I can do it.
Joker?
I can do it.
Gear up and head down to the Mako. Joker, drop us right on top of that bastard.
You two, keep moving. Inside, now.
Now, right off the bat, I do have a bit of a bone to pick with this mission. Because everything looks the same and there's no real strong indications of where to go, it's easy to get stuck wandering around and fighting Geth that don't actually lead you anywhere. Maybe I'm just stupid, but it's always frustrated me and Brew in this section of the missions. I feel like I can't keep up with the pacing that I should have. I seriously have 3 recordings of this mission's on foot section labeled as Lost on Ilos, Still Lost on Ilos, and finally Not Lost on Ilos. It's honestly ridiculous. But once you get the doors back open, it's back to the Mako as you head back down to the bunker. I don't remember it being as bad on controller, but Jesus, WASD is not my definition of fine driving controls. Oh, and kids, keep your eyes on the road and don't go zooming in while you're zooming along.
Do a barrel roll.
We'll come up to a force field that'll take us out of the Mako and down an elevator to Vigil. Vigil is a Prothean VI and one of my favorite exposition dumps across gaming. Don't get it twisted in the fact that it is an exposition dump, but it's set up well as it's not the first device the Protheans left behind trying to warn you about the Reapers. It's a genuinely interesting conversation, the best information on the Reapers you'll get until Mass Effect 3. Take your time here and go through all the dialogue options, you're not going to get another chance. The biggest thing is realizing all these pods on the walls are the victims of the Reapers. It adds a lot of context to the area you're driving through so casually. He leaves us on a last word of hope, and we take off on a quick run down to the conduit, in one of, if not my favorite set pieces of the game.
The one you call Saren has not reached the conduit. Not yet. There is still hope if you hurry.
The stakes are at their highest as Sovereign starts to take control over the Citadel and locks you out of the elevators, forcing you onto the outside. It's an epic moment as you run along the outside of the station towards your enemy. You may not realize it that it's actually Sovereign in the moment until he starts moving, giving you a shell shock of the moment as you finally understand the scale of your foe. This is an awesome combat arena as it promotes speed and aggression, which lead to an awesome feeling as you cut a swath up to Saren. It lends itself well to the drama of the situation as you feel the need to press on, keep fighting. Finding yourself trapped under a Reaper with rocket turrets aimed at you is an awesome moment as well, as it just adds on to the tension and makes you feel like you should be moving, but you're stuck and pinned down. Back inside, you'll find yourself in the Presidium with Saren standing atop the Council's pedestal. As you look up at yet another roadblock stopping you from fighting the Reapers, you know the climax is upon us. You'll see a lot of criticism thrown at this scene, and it's fair to do so, but again, I find myself with a soft spot for Saren. Anderson's backstory set him up as evil, and that may be true, but I believe people really change. I really think he was doing what he thought was best, and when you think about it, it fits his character. Callous but calculated, as his logic follows from one event to the other. He let civilians die in his mission with Anderson to stop the terrorists, and while as humans we may find this abhorrent, think about it from the perspective of a Turian. Garrus explains to us it's a very militarized society where the end justifies the means. He tells us that in their culture, if one person is left standing at the end of the war, it's still considered a victory in their eyes. So with that logic, wouldn't sacrificing lives to the Reapers to be spared from extinction be seen as a victory in the end? It's flawed, sure, but mixing his understanding of survival with indoctrination from Sovereign, and it's easy to see how he ended up on this path. His last words were those of regret, and it's always left me melancholic as he falls from grace, but happy in that he found some modicum of redemption.
The implants. Sovereign is too strong. I'm sorry. It is too late for me.
It's not over yet. You can still redeem yourself.
Goodbye, Shepard. Thank you.
The arms of the Citadel opening while the Alliance floods through the relay fills me with a level of fuck yeah I reserve for the best of moments. At 3 in the morning as I finished the gameplay recordings, I found myself loudly cheering like my team just won a world championship. God, it's so fucking cool. After waiting through all this shit, you finally have the galaxy at your back as they take on the Geth fleet.
I hope the Council appreciates this.
Alliance ships, move in. Save the Destiny Ascension.
Commander, we're picking up reinforcements. It's the Alliance. Thank the goddess.
Destiny Ascension, you are all clear. Repeat, you are all clear. The Citadel's opening. All ships move in. Concentrate on Sovereign.
And as much as I despise this second fight with Saren for being really poorly designed, it can't take away from how cool it is to have your progression in the fight against him being mirrored in the fight against Sovereign. It turns a lackluster boss fight into an epic set piece, and I could watch it all fucking day long.
Sovereign's too strong. We have to pull back. Negative. This is our only chance. Take that monster down no matter what the cost.
BioWare knew beforehand that Mass Effect wouldn't be the end, and they treated the story as much. After emerging triumphant from the corpse of Sovereign, you're met with the Council, who are now ready to welcome a human into their ranks. It's your choice here, but obviously we all chose Anderson. Shepard is awesome in this moment, as he doesn't pause for even a moment to revel in his victory.
For both humanity and the Council.
Sovereign was only a vanguard. The Reaper fleet is still coming. Hundreds of ships, maybe thousands. And I'm gonna find some way to stop them.
Shepard's right. Humanity is ready to do its part. United with the rest of the Council, we have the strength to overcome any challenge. When the Reapers come, we must stand side by side. We must fight against them as one. And together, we will drive them back into dark space.
Well, that's it, folks. This game concludes without an ending as it chooses to be the starting off point of an epic story instead. Overall, it's for sure a flawed work, but a piece of art nonetheless. I quote Steak Bentley, "Art should not denote quality. Art is anything that can communicate an idea. It can be art and still be bad. It speaks to me as a player and also as a person. I love this series, and no amount of hate will ever change that." I go by Purple, and I'd like to thank you for staying to the end of this video. If you already love this series, I hope you can point to this video to explain why. And if you've never played it, I hope I can convince you to try it. A special thank you to Emilio Martinez for helping me through the revision process, and if you've enjoyed the content, please drop a like and subscribe, and I'll be starting Mass Effect 2 the day this video releases. Have a great day, and always remember to smile.